Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Sal Leto, your Chief Network Officer with Auvoria Prime. We're coming to you live out of the United States today. We have an incredible special guest who agreed pretty much last minute to make himself available today to come and be a special guest on our software and Forex call. And I'm very excited to introduce this gentleman to the community. So we'll be getting started shortly. We just sent out another company-wide update inviting everyone to the call, a reminder. And so we're going to give another minute or so to give people time to join the call. Obviously, as we're going through the free trial here, and a lot of people have already paid to upgrade, the biggest question that we have now for this next phase of growth with the Auvoria Prime is how should customers use their software? And it's critical that we address that important question compliantly, because there's only so many things we can do as a company without crossing over the line of being non-compliant by offering any kind of financial advice if we don't hold the licenses to do so. It's all about sharing customer experiences, and if anyone does give advice, it needs to come from someone with the legal authority to do so. That's what's exciting about today's call, is you guys are going to hear from a registered investment advisor, someone who has a great experience in the Forex and futures trading space. He's an established and well-known authority in the space. And we're excited because this is really the first week that most of our free trial members and most of our new paid customers are going to get a full week of experience trading in the markets. But it's funny how timing works out, because you're seeing the crazy market conditions with this virus, and then it's also NFP week, so it's like a double whammy. It's just crazy. And then that's the first week that we're launching globally with most of our users. It's a triple threat storm all coming together, right? So we want to do our best as a company to provide the most insight, again, compliantly to all of our customers, to make sure that you have confidence and clarity, specific clarity going into the markets this week on how you should approach the markets, because again, you are the one who's in full control. Our goal is to empower you, to educate you, equip you to learn how to use the software and also how to trade in the markets manually. So let's go ahead and get the call kicked off now that we're 4 minutes past the time. Again, this is Sal Leto, your Chief Network Officer here with Auvoria Prime. And what I'm going to do first is I'm actually going to be bringing on a dear friend of mine. Many of you know him as a global director. He's a global executive director, and he's working directly with his wife. They both have their own unique roles, sharing the space as global directors. There are directors of development, right? Our global development directors. And when you hear the word development, for me, that has a two-edged sword. Okay, number one, you're going to hear from Mr. Ryan Doktorchek. He is in the software development space. We're going to be having announcements coming out soon about some very neat technology that he's developed. But even beyond that, he's serving in a capacity with his wife, Jolene Doktorchek, developing people and developing leadership. And we know that requires a special skill set and a special experience that they both bring to the table. Many of you that are friends with them on social media, you see how great of an effort they make in reaching out to their contacts on social media and providing a digital platform to help people get connected and engage in leadership producing activities and developing leadership mindsets. The type of leaders that they've attracted to Auvoria Prime are incredible, and it just shows who they are, right? Because you attract not what you want, but you attract who you are. And so the leaders that they're bringing to the table, it just shows what type of leaders they are. So I'm very excited. I want to bring Ryan onto the call because the special guest that we have today that you're going to hear from in just a moment, Ryan has had a long-term relationship with this individual. And it's really a neat privilege of ours to have all of this work out to where we get to do this call today. Perfect timing. So without any further ado, Ryan, let's do a sound check. Can you speak, and let me make sure you're coming through loud and clear?
Can you hear me, Sal?
Yes, perfect. I could hear you. So thank you so much. I'm going to pass the call to you, and I'd love for you to actually introduce our special guest since you have such a long-standing relationship with him.
Well, fantastic. Sal, thank you so much. It's a huge privilege to just get to be here and serve this community alongside of one of the most phenomenal leaders and just tremendous people and great friends that I've ever had, and that's you, Mr. Sal Leto. So I'm excited to get to be here with you, and I'm excited for everybody to get to meet, I'll say, our new friend, Sal, because I know you started to have your own direct interactions with Stephen Vetterl, and you're starting to get to know him on a personal level, and I don't think it's a stretch for me to say that you guys are becoming friends as well. But it's funny, I met Steve probably 7 years ago and never would have guessed that the paths would take us here. But at that time, I was pretty actively involved in a couple of investing meetup groups with the emphasis on real estate. And Steve ended up coming out to one of the meetups, and we ended up connecting. And I think this is about 7 years ago. And that initial introduction kind of started turning into, you know, what became a friendship, and we collaborated, brainstormed, masterminded, tried to find ideas that we could get out into the market, and just maintain that relationship over the years. And it's funny because prior to getting into this space really with you, Sal, I had no idea that Stephen had such an authoritative background in the trading arena. I knew that that's what he had done, and he carries obviously prominent licenses like his FINRA Series 65 and 66. And as you already mentioned, he's a registered investment advisor. And then another feather in his cap that's pretty phenomenal. This one is extremely rare. Stephen was the proud recipient in 2017 as being recognized as one of the top 100 most influential financial advisors by Investopedia. And if anybody listening today isn't quite sure about Investopedia and how authoritative that is and what an incredibly rare accolade that is to receive, you're talking about, you know, out of how many millions across the world, people that operate in that capacity, and Stephen's one of those recipients, and he's in the running again for 2020, everybody. So pretty incredible. And so, but beyond all those accolades, here's what I love about Stephen Vetterl. He's just a down to earth, really pragmatic, practical guy. He's got a great sense of humor. He's from the East Coast. You'll hear that a little bit come out in his sense of humor. And one last thing I'll say before we bring him on, and this is also incredibly rare, you guys. He's operated in this space for nearly 22 years without a single blemish against any of his licensing. And I can tell you from having had a background as a real estate broker, when you operate to the public at large in any licensed capacity, to be able to maintain a squeaky clean track record is not common. And so for Stephen to not have even a single blemish at all after 22 years, not a single complaint, that is also speaks volumes to just how diligent he is, how dedicated he is. And you guys are going to hear how passionate he is about things like risk management and trying to help put other people in position to win. He's an educator. He's written courses. He leads fxestrader.com as well. And he was actually personally mentored by, this will ring a bell for some of you, Ken Fisher. You guys might know the name Ken Fisher, but that was one of Stephen's early mentors as well. And so with no further ado, I'm excited, Auvoria community, to introduce you to my good friend, Stephen Vetterl. Stephen, are you there?
I am. Can you guys hear me okay?
Can hear you loud and clear, my friend.
Good. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. Wow, that's a heck of an introduction. I should make sure I play this webinar back to my wife when she's yelling at me, right? So, welcome everyone. Sunday afternoon here, the 29th, and unfortunately, globally, we have a bad situation going on with COVID-19. So our hearts and prayers go out to everyone that's been affected by this. I know this has been quite troubling for certainly the financial and currency markets. But again, my name is Stephen Vetterl, financial advisor here, work in the northern San Diego area. I'm also a portfolio manager, trader, all that fun stuff. Thank you for the introduction. Great stuff. So hopefully everybody can see the disclaimer on the screen. I know this stuff gets boring, but I really try and focus a lot when I'm talking about the futures of Forex markets, all about risk, and everything's about risk. And yes, you know, the Auvoria prime trading softwares, they continually analyze the market in real time, and they respond to ever-changing economic conditions that impact the forex trading. And this gives you, fantastic trade entries and trade management. But the most important thing is that I'm going to be talking about going forward in my new relationship with Auvoria. It's always going to be about risk. So, forex trading involves leverage, carries a high level of risk, and is not suitable for all investors. So you can and lose all of your money. You want to pay attention to, those types of factors. But for those that don't know who I am, if you look into the chat window, there is my name. Call me Steve if you want. That's the website. It's a little futures and currency trading company that I run. But primarily my business is working with higher net worth clients, financial planning, do trading for them, all that fun stuff. But if you Google my name, you could see that in the past I've written a lot of blogs. I've done a lot of work for different types of software companies in terms of mostly trading platforms and software related to that stuff in different presentations. This is the first time ever in my career that I have found an organization, and more importantly, an entire basket of products that is just fantastic stuff. Some of it's automated, some of it's darn near completely automated. All of it has done exceptionally well and that's a big if, as long as the settings are correct and that they are, used within the parameters of risk. So a lot of what we're talking about, and Ryan, I'll sort of jump back to if you want to share a screen on that. We want to get into this week's discussion with the Forex calendar, which we'll always address from Forex Factory. It's one of the best out there. If you want, Ryan, I can share it, or you could share it, doesn't matter. We can go through the
if you have
week
it
in
ready,
economics.
Why don't you go ahead and bring it up? Yeah, if you have it ready, why don't you go ahead and bring it up, Steve?
I do.
That'd
So
be
let me
great.
just share that other screen. Just bear with me here. I got four different screens, folks. So I'm always sharing one or the other. Okay, so for those of you that have not seen this before, and let me just share the whole screen. Here, it's a little better. Can you see the Forex calendar okay?
Yeah, we can
looks
see it.
good.
Okay. So it looks like somebody posted in the chat room. Let me just real quick post the link to this so everybody can see that. There you go. Forex Factory is by far out there the best. I have never, ever in 7 or 8 years that I've been in this Forex space ever found a problem with one of their news releases. It's great. Always make sure up at the top here that you're looking at the current week. Sometimes this shows up in its previous weeks or what happens, but always make sure you're looking at the current week at the forexfactory.com website. So I'll just go ahead and let you take over, Ryan, on this part.
So Steve, right, we'll start here and stay here for a minute. So the first thing is this. With the software that most of our users are running right now, there are basically what we like to call default settings that come directly from the developers. And as part of those default settings, we're focused on 3 primary currencies. Now, obviously, every user is able to pick whatever currencies that they prefer to trade. But as it relates to our default settings, we're typically focused on the euro, the US dollar, and the Japanese yen. And so maybe you can filter the news for the week ahead as it relates to those 3 currencies. And then maybe just let us know, what do you see other than, as Sal already mentioned, the infamous NFP week for the almighty US dollar, right? And that typically has I think you'd probably say, a disproportionate effect relative to other currencies. But as we look at these 3 main currencies and we think about our software settings for the week, and we're thinking, moderate, conservative, aggressive, when you look at the calendar for the week ahead, what things jump out at you that our software users should be acutely aware of for this next week?
So if you're looking at Friday, which is April 3rd, that's a non-farm. You guys see that I highlighted that there? Is that easy to view?
Yes.
Okay. So with the non-farm, obviously that's on Friday. The settings of this software are typically just trading Sunday through Wednesday in most cases from a default standpoint. Anything that has to do with And the problem is this is such a rocky water week. Do keep in mind on Wednesday, by the way, you have the non-farm employment changes. Most of the numbers are going to, and this stuff's obviously outliers from historical standards, but the vast majority of the numbers related to employment, darn near globally this week, are going to be really out there. I mean, they're going to be just some of the worst numbers we've ever seen. To a certain degree, and I can't be sure to what degree we're speaking of, both of the currency markets, the futures markets, as well as the vast majority of international equity markets of both developed and emerging markets, they've somewhat priced in that it's going to be really bad. Now, the question is, how right or wrong is this level of pricing? How much efficiency is going on? The problem with any of this is that the vast majority of the main central banks, and when I talk the main central banks, I'm talking about Jerome Powell in the Federal Reserve, I'm talking about Christine Lagarde in the European Central Bank, I'm talking about the Japanese Central Bank as the primary three that influence most of the monetary flow of money. There has been liquidity issues. There's been air pockets in liquidity in the last week, and I don't want to get too deep in that, but all important factors to take into mind that we're going to see volatility, and it's always tough to direct anybody in a trading discussion, whether you're mentoring, as I do with some students, or just talking to clients. I am inclined personally to not do a lot of trading this week, just because, very simply, regardless of how good your risk mitigation factors are and your understanding of when these news stories are coming out, there's just been a lot of volatility, and a lot of the pricing has been it's been a little more consistent in the currency markets, but pricing among a lot of commodities in the futures markets, and certainly a lot of ETFs out there, which we trade well over 5,000 ETFs around the world, has been very dislocated. So that type of mispricing, a lack of liquidity, could certainly carry over into the Forex market. So just be mindful of that.
So we have a few settings that might relate a little more directly to risk with the software. I'm going to ask you about a few of these and just kind of maybe get your feedback, Steve, as it relates to this week. So if I was, for example, helping a 7-day free trial brand new user to our software have their first experience, and if the default settings were set toward a $3,000 balance and a 0.01 lot size, which is a micro lot, the smallest lot size we can get with most brokers, would you recommend leaving that at the smallest possible lot size for this week?
It's going to depend upon how, if any, that account looks in terms of its performance. If that account is way up in trading over the last 6 or 7 months, as my different software accounts are through Auvoria, I'm more inclined to be a 0.02. Okay, if somebody is brand new, I would not go beyond 0.01. Period. I don't care how much money you have. There's just too much volatility.
Awesome. Perfect. Yeah, because we have a lot of brand new people getting their very first exposure ever to the Auvoria Prime software products this week. And so that's why I'm focused a little bit more towards like someone who's never even used our software. So another setting that's probably one of the most prominent is a weekly goal. And the default setting on the weekly goal is at 3%. And so let's talk a little bit about that. This is maybe a little bit of a leading question because you and I have had so many discussions over the last several months or year plus in this environment. I'm going to ask you two questions. Number one, if we're trying to be more conservative for this week, where would you put that weekly goal? And then number two, I'll let you answer them both together. Then number two, if, for example, if I was trying to be really conservative and personally took my weekly goal down to say 1%, is that something I should be ashamed of, or is that something I should be proud of if I could get 1% a week on a highly volatile week?
If you could get 1% a week for the rest of your entire life, or even half of your life, you would be among some of the most top performing hedge funds on this entire planet. So I would look at 1% as being a tremendous week. So, if you're looking, as I always joke with clients, if you look in all the billionaire pages of Forbes, look in the finance section and you remove everybody that inherited the money, you see that some of the best investors in the world, whether it be like a Warren Buffett on the equity side, or some of the different gentlemen in the trade on the long short hedge fund and forex and futures side, their performance net of fees, even some of the top hedge funds in the world have been 25% net of fees over a long period of time. There's about 6 or 7 that have done that. And the people that have been able to put that kind of performance up, they have a B behind their name.
Well, that's not a bad letter to have behind your name for that context, for sure. One other batch of settings or area of settings, if you will, and I want you to weigh in on this one as well. And I love the fact that you're familiar with our software, right? You've been using it for several months, and you've the predecessor of our current software, of course, and you've got a really great feel from your own use of the software. And so that another risk mitigation aspect of our software is the ability to sort of sidestep the market before and after these scheduled news releases. And we have the ability, every user has the ability to schedule those wait times or adjust those wait times. And so generally speaking, I know that the shorter the wait times, the more aggressive we're being, and the longer the wait times on either side of a news release, the more conservative we are being. And so would you also recommend that we make sure that particular setting this week is geared towards a more conservative, longer wait time on either side of a news release?
Yeah, I mean, I can't stress the mitigation of risk is one of the single most important factors in trading, whether you're using a fully automated or a moderately automated system, or if you're just a discretionary trader making your own decisions and trades one at a time. So this particular week, I'd keep everything as absolutely conservative as possible, if on at all.
Well, and I appreciate that. And that is a little bit of the double-edged sword this week, right? We have a lot of excited, brand new potential customers here of Auvoria Prime who are embarking on their initial access to a 7-day free trial. So certainly they're going to want to test drive the car, so to speak. But, I love what you're referencing, and it's something I think that's valuable for everybody, right? Just because the markets are open doesn't mean a trader has to trade.
No, that's true. Do keep in mind that cash can be and is a position, is highly regarded as a position. Preservation of capital is almost as important of a goal as making profit is.
I love that. Well, Steve, you've been so gracious to take some of your precious time. You've got a beautiful family there in Southern California, and for you to, carve out some of your time to spend with our incredible Auvoria Prime community. Can't thank you enough for that. I'm curious if you have any final thoughts or kind of any nuggets of wisdom or quick recommendations that you would like to leave the Auvoria Prime community with as we wrap up here.
Just being mindful of some of the questions that are coming through in the Zoom webinar chat window, guys. Yes, thank you very much, by the way. Getting a couple of PMs, appreciate it. Guys might want to address when the free trial thing ends, but also do keep in mind there are a lot of educational videos on, and there's going to be a lot more coming, both from myself and the team at Auvoria and Ryan and his team. So we're going to keep them all short and sweet. We're going to try and get right to the point in terms of what's most important, understanding a macro view of what's going on in this side of the trading world. But I think the Forex market offers a tremendous opportunity. It's one of the largest in the entire world of any liquid tradable market next to the credit markets. And again, one of the most, you can't say this enough because everybody's probably sick of hearing me say this, but honestly, to everybody out there, it is exceptionally rare that an affordable, fully, or in some cases, moderately fully tradable automated software for trading the Forex markets is even available. I mean, hedge funds will spend, in some cases, upwards of $5 million writing code to set up any kind of high frequency trading system in any strategy, whether it be, futures, equities, or in Forex. So to have the ability to come into with very specific risk parameter settings that have been programmed in, and the artificial intelligence that comes along with it, and have the opportunity to profit at 1% a week. I mean, this stuff is rare. Most of the ones I've been privy to over the years, they have huge drawdowns in them. There's no protection in the software. It's just in the Wild West, trading whatever, gold, the euro US dollar, whatever the particular pair may be in currency land or in the futures market. So, and that's mostly what I found exciting about what Auvoria has put together. So I'm certainly looking forward to that. But thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Sal.
Let's take maybe just a couple
Vanessa.
more minutes, actually, Steve, if we can. Can we steal 3 more minutes from you? We'll take it right to the top of the hour, because there's some great questions in the chat that, as you just acknowledged, which kind of jogged my memory. I thought maybe we can keep you on here for 3 more minutes and look at a few of these questions. And so it looked like Katerina wanted to know, would you wait 1 hour before starting your software after market open, or would you wait 2 hours this particular week?
I could always be wrong, right? But typically 2 hours in, a lot of the lunacy, if you will have settled out. The problem is with a general statement like that, we're still fraught with risk as a market this week, because anybody can say anything, right? A particular prime minister can get the coronavirus like Boris Johnson has, right? Somebody else could contract that's in some sort of international monetary fund or ECB or Federal Reserve type status. That's going to add volatility to the dollar, right? But the dollar still has been without a doubt, a roaring store of value, and the absolute flight to safety or flight to quality that you're seeing going on in Forex. But I would probably be about 2 hours delayed on the software setting. Again, that's
awesome.
not
and then,
the original settings.
Right. Okay, perfect. That's helpful. Thank you. Another question that I think we might have briefly touched on, but let's hit it again because it's a big one. So if someone had a $3,000 account, which again is the default profile, and by the way, let me say this as a caveat. I really hope, I believe it is the case, and I really hope any of you on this Zoom right now, if you have introduced brand new people who are on their very first maiden voyage and on their 7-day free trial, that should be with a demo account. And Steve would probably echo that. You should absolutely be getting familiar with the behaviors of our software and the environment, the trading environment, with a demo account, not live money, but rather it's demo or live, so that people can, again, get a feel for settings. If someone had a $3,000 account and that was their trading balance, and if the default setting on the software was a 0.01 lot size, the question is, would you leave it or would you adjust it?
I would keep it at 0.01, period.
Perfect. Awesome.
And you're probably going to hear me echo that for the several coming weeks. Now, again, for those that have had the software for a significant period of time, and I know there's a chunk of you out there that your account is way up, which is fantastic, you can deviate a little from the 0.01, maybe a 0.02. I doubt I'd get into a 3, by the way. So that would be maybe one tick change.
We're going to do our best, Steve, to try to not make this a one-off occurrence and have the benefit of your wisdom here in the Auvoria community. And we have some incredible feature enhancements on their way down the pipe. And so we're going to certainly try to get you, back in front of our community again. We have another iteration of the software that's on its way to our hands and our fingertips that is going to deliver some additional features, such as a trailing start and trailing stop against the equity position of the overall account. So not just individual trades have some of that feature base already, but a trailing start and trailing stop against the account equity. And so that feature is coming soon. And we'll definitely want to try to get you back so that you can share your thoughts on those features and others to come. But we're excited. The development is going full steam. We're excited about the road ahead with both the existing products and future products, and having you weigh in on what we're doing to add value to our users is priceless. And so thank you again, Steve, for being here today. Thank you, everybody who tuned in and for putting your questions in the chat. If this added value to you guys before you go, drop that 777 in the chat box. Let Steve know if you appreciated all of his insights today. And if you want him back, make it a bunch of sevens. If you guys would love to have
Thanks,
Steve
guys.
Federal contribute again in the future, blast some sevens. We want to know if you guys see the value in having someone like Steven Vetterl sewing into this community. So let's see, here they come. Yep, they're going nuts. Steve, they're going nuts. The sevens are going absolutely ballistic. So,
and for a couple of the PMs that I've had, if I may, Ryan, that this Forex cheat sheet that I'm showing on the screen, this is actually an excellent, real high-level piece that I've shown to students for years. Maybe we can make that available in some form to the in the Forex the Auvoria back office.
Absolutely. I think I'll leave that conversation to take place with you and Sal.
Okay.
But for sure, man, we want to glean as much value as we can from the fact that you're willing to make yourself available to this community. So again, thank you everybody for being on today. Thank you so much, Sal, for getting us started. You're an amazing Chief Network Officer. You're an amazing visionary, an amazing friend. And Steve, your wisdom just exudes every time you share. So thank you. Cannot tell both of you each how much we appreciate you. And so we will do this again next week, folks. We're going to do this as a regular call in terms of taking a look at the markets and software. And so get ready to tune back in next week. And in the meantime, make it a great trading week. And remember, like Steve said, protecting capital wins the day. All right, everybody, with that, enjoy the remainder of your Sunday. Thanks for being on. We'll see you on the next Zoom.